Good day, everyone. Today we will discuss the chapter 2 of Assessment of Learning 1, which is the rules of assessment. And the overview of this is assessment is a cyclic process. So, di ba, no? Cyclic process ang assessment. And the learning objectives or the intended learning outcomes of this topic is at the end of the chapter 2, students are expected to explain the various rules of assessment to learners, teachers, parents, and other stakeholders. Again, our overview is assessment is a cyclic process. When we say cyclic process, it is the process in which the initial and the final states are the same is known as a cyclic process. So we have here a figure 2.1 which is the assessment implementation cycle. Cycle form ang picture na karon. So, the first one is define or refine, which is the students' learning outcomes based on input from stakeholders. The second one is design, assessment, tools, criteria, and standards directly linked to each outcome. The third is implement, assessment tool or tools to gather evidence of student learning. The fourth is analyze and evaluate the collected data. The fifth is identify gaps between desired and actual results. The sixth is document results and outline needed changes in curriculum, instructional materials, or teaching strategies. So, balik na po siya sa one if mag-ato ra gihapon ang process. Diba? Cycle process lang gihapon siya. So, assessment is a process in which we identify what we want students to learn, provide learning opportunities, evaluate whether they've learned what we want them to, and make adjustments to help current and future students to learn better. It is an ongoing cycle that helps us monitor our teaching and continually improve. So next is the rules of assessment. It is classified into four. First one is the placement assessment. Second, formative assessment. The third is diagnostic assessment. And the last is the summative assessment. So, placement assessment is basically used to determine a learner's entry performance. So, placement assessment are used to place students into a course level, or academic program. And the purpose of placement assessment is to determine the prerequisite skills, degree of mastery of the course, and the best mode of learning, and used to determine if a student has an appropriate skill or knowledge to participate in a group. It determines knowledge and skills he or she possesses and which are necessary at the beginning of instruction. One is the formative assessment. Mediates the teaching and learning processes. The goal of formative assessment is to monitor students' learning, to provide ongoing feedback that can be used by instructors to improve their teaching and by the students to improve their learning. More specifically, formative assessments help students identify their strengths and weaknesses and target the areas that need to work. And the formative assessment has two classifications, which are the positive effects of formative assessment and also the attributes of an effective formative assessment. First, we will discuss the positive effects of formative assessment. The first one is reactivates or consolidates prerequisite skills or knowledge prior to introducing new material. Second, focuses attention on important aspects of the subjects. Third, encourage active learning strategies. The fourth, gives students opportunities to practice skills and to consolidate learning. The fifth is to provide knowledge of outcome and corrective feedback. The sixth is to help students monitor their own progress and develop self-evaluation skills. And seven, guides the choice of further learning activities to increase performance. And last one, helps students to feel sense of accomplishment. Those are the positive effects of formative assessment. According to Black and William, 1998, cited a body of evidence that formative assessment can raise the standards of achievement. The next is the attributes of an effective formative assessment. According to Melmer, Burmaster and James, 2008, delineated 5 key attributes of an effective formative assessment. When we say attributes, it is regard something as being caused by someone or something. So, this is the attributes of an effective formative assessment. The first is learning progression. The second is learning goals and criteria for success. The third is descriptive feedback. Fourth, self and peer assessment. And the last is collaboration. So, in order for formative assessment to be effective, it requires the active involvement of the students in the learning process through self and peer assessment. Through immediate constructive dialogue and feedback, instructional adjustments are made as appropriate and necessary. And as partners in teaching and learning process, a collaborative environment is produced, one that is characterized by transparency, respect, and appreciation of differences. So, learning progression. Learning progression should clearly communicate the sub-goals of the ultimate learning goal. So, learning goals and criteria for success. Learning goals and criteria for success should be clearly identified and communicated to students. So, descriptive feedback as students should be provided with evidence-based feedback that is linked to the intended instructional to enhance learning. So, self and peer assessment. Both self and peer assessment are important for providing students an opportunity to think metacognitively about their learning. The last is collaboration, a classroom culture in which teachers and students are partners in learning should be established. And now we will move to this figure. So this is the figure 2.2, Model of Feedback to Enhance Learning by Haiti and Tim Persley, 2007. So diha no makita na to na siya purpose. The disparity can be reduced by students and teacher. Effective feedback answered the 3 questions, which are the where I am going, or feed up, or how am I going, the feedback, and where to next, the feed forward, and the last, which is the feedback question, work at 4 levels, and these are the task level, process level, self-regulation level, and the self level. And the purpose of feedback in assessment and learning process is to improve a student's performance, not to put a damper on it. It is essential that the process of providing feedback is a positive or at least a neutral learning for students, so that the feedback can help set a path for students directing to their intention or attention to areas for growth and improvement and connecting them with the future learning opportunities. At the same time, there is an evaluative component of feedback regardless of whatever it's given with a grade. So, di ba no? So, task level. So, how will tasks are understood and performed? So, diha na siya yung mga definition, like how students execute the activity or the process of learning, diba? So, task level, how will tasks are understood or performed. Process level, which is the main purpose needed to understand or perform tasks. Self-regulation, self-monitoring, directing, and regulating of actions. Self-level, personal evaluation, and effect usually positive about the learners. So, that is the figure 2.2 by Haiti, 2000 and 2007. Haiti and Tim Persley, Model of Feedback to Enhance Learning. So, next is diagnostic assessment. It is intended to identifying learning difficulties during instruction. It used to detect causes of persistent learning difficulties despite pedagogical remedies applied by a teacher. And the purpose of diagnostic assessment is to help to identify learning gaps and provide insights into comprehension that can be addressed in a future instruction. Diagnostic assessment are designed to measure students' strengths, weaknesses, and knowledge level and skill sets. Next is the summative assessment. It's done at the end of instruction to determine the extent to which students have attained the learning outcomes. The purpose of summative assessment or the goal of a summative assessment is to evaluate students' learning at the end of instructional unit by comparing it against some standards or benchmark. Summative assessments are often high stakes, which means that they have a high point value. Next is the figure 2.3, which is taxonomy of approaches to assessment. This is according to Terenzeni 1989. When we say taxonomy, it provides a basis for developing sub-goals and assessment methodology to meet the goals, and it is important to note that learning outcomes are goals, are not the activities performed to achieve those goals. And we have here the following, which is the questions like what, why, who. And we have here a 4-dimension in this taxonomy approaches of assessment, which are the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values and behaviors. And these belongs to object of assessment, or the what we need to know or what we need to achieve, diba? The next one is the purpose of assessment, classified into two, which are the learning or teaching formative and accountability or summative. Under the accountability or summative are the gatekeeping and the campus and program evaluation. While in the teaching or learning formative, these are the competency-based instruction, placement, and program enhancement. And these are the purpose of assessment, like pangutan siya why. Nganong purpose man siya, di ba? Nganong unsa may purpose niya. So mo to gi-classify siya into two. The next one is the level of assessment consists of two classified into two, which are the individual and group. So sa individual, dito na belong ang competency-based instruction and placement, and also the gatekeeping. Sa group is ang program enhancement and campus and program evaluation. Diba? Sila ang level of assessment. Kinsa man ni ang mo-execute ani. And that is the taxonomy of approaches to assessment. And that would be all for chapter 2, which are the rules of assessment. Once again, I am Aisa Sabihon Pangolima. Thank you.